Hey guys, Joe Bonamassa here. Sit back and enjoy Christone, Kingfish, Ingram on this exciting episode of KTBA Artist Spotlight.
I don't really have a regimen or anything. I just sit down and play, and when it's time to jam for the show, I just sit there and jam out. Now, what I may do, I may put on some music and I may play along with it, to get myself amped up. But most of the time, it's just me sitting down and playing. When I was properly trained by some of my other guitar teachers in school, they used to give us like exercises to work on, and every now and then I'll pull one of those old exercises out the book. But at the same time, I still like to just go with the flow and practice, because you never know what you might come up with. Now, unless there is something that specifically I want to work on, for sure. Well, what made me interested in guitar when I was younger, like around age 3, all of my parents, well, not parents, but on my mom's side of the family, all of my uncles and aunts, they all played and sang in church, and my mom took me around them. So from watching them, I immediately had an interest, and not so only the guitar, just music, period. And around age 8, I attended the Delta Blues Museum Arts and Education program in my hometown, Clarksdale, Mississippi. And I was originally a bass player, and then around about the time I turned 12 or 13, I switched to guitar because just wanted to, try something different, and I kind of been stuck there ever since. First, I learned a little bit from my family, and then I actually got formal training at the Delta Blues Museum Arts and Education program back home. And when I went in, I originally started on guitar, but I didn't really know what to do, and that's when I moved to bass. And they just taught me the basics, about the fundamentals of the guitar and the basic blues and blues history as well. So I felt like that was like my niche, in there. And plus, being in Clarksdale, Mississippi, also made it a big thing too. My dad showed me a PBS documentary on TV, and it was a Muddy Waters documentary. It was a sound that I was just drawn to, because they were showing the episode of him playing the slide part on this song, Long Distance Call, and that sound just had me. I'm like, man, what's that? And he told me, he was like, that's Muddy Waters, and it was a sound that I had been drawn to since then, And then that's when I eventually learned about the others, like Little Walter, Howlin' Wolf, and so on and so on. Some people would say it's something down there in the water, in the Mississippi Delta. I just believe, the guys in that area back then, on the plantations and everything, that's all they had. And the kids that was coming up around that, they kind of soaked that into it, and it went from generation to generation. And so that's why you have all these great blues, soul, and R&B acts that came from there, because they all grew up like that on the farm, like Ike Turner, Sam Cooke, John Lee Hooker, and the list goes on and on. So what they passed down to the bluesmen that I learned from, they passed down to me. So it's a steady thing. Where I come from in Mississippi, especially Clarksdale, they know that the kids play the blues there, and everybody knows what type of town it is. And the club owners give the kids opportunities to come in and showcase their talent. Even though it's all up to the parent, I think most parents understand how it works. And long as they're in there watching you and not leaving you unattended, it's all good. And long as they see nobody's giving you anything that's going to harm you or anything, it's all fine. My dad was cool with it at first, and my mom, she was cool with it too, as well, because she was like my way to get there. She was always taking me, and she never left her spot in the club. She sat there the whole night, never left. I used to live right next to a blues band also in town, so a lot of the local heroes on the scene, like Dr. Mike and Wesley Junebug Jefferson, I was looking up to them. But then when I started getting more deep into the genre and I started to learn the history, like Son House and my personal favorite, Lightning Hopkins and Muddy and Howlin' Wolf and Otis Rush and BB and Albert King, I started deep diving into it, and those guys pretty much they inspired me to, make my own style. I can play the Delta blues like, not like, but like on the, on the likes of Son House and Charlie Patton, and I get my electric stuff, from Otis Rush and Arabic King and Freddie and and the list goes so on and so on. It became a reality when one of my mentors in the class, Bill Holloman Perry, who actually gave me the name Kingfish, he used to like reward some of the kids in the class by, he said, hey, tonight I'm playing at Ground Zero. You wanna come up and do a song with me? Or some of the kids. So when he invited me that first time and I got up there and I kind of held my own at the time, being on stage with the big boys, as they call it. And when I saw that I could really do this, I was like, man, maybe I should look into something, because through the years prior, I had, like, I wouldn't say a love-hate relationship with music. I was just always leaving it, then going to somewhere else, but always leading back to music. And around age 8, I felt like that was something that music is all I, should be concentrating on. And when I sat in with my mentor, that really stamped it for me. The bigger venues are always dope and always nice, but I can definitely say I'm more drawn to smaller venues because, back home in Clarksdale, that's all we had, and I feel like they're more intimate and you can really connect with the crowd like that. And that's the big difference for me. I love all of them for sure. I love every stage, but the smaller ones are really the ones that I'm more drawn to because of the intimacy, When the crowd is into it and you got them moving and feeling, it makes you want to play more. It makes you want to give them all you got. And when you see all those people, reacting like that, it makes you feel it real good. Really feel good. And the outcome of that, you want to make them feel good. So it's a big happy moment altogether. It kind of reminded me of an interview that I was watching of BB King and what he said, and he was saying that something to the effect of that he couldn't get that same energy in the studio because he wasn't playing with a band, because he says playing with the band he can feel more open and everything. And I feel like it can be the same way with me to like a certain degree. I think I need the crowd to play good, but then once I get into like the swing of things, it makes me, it makes my confidence build up and know that, hey man, I'm cool, like that. So the first and only time that I met BB King was I was in 7th grade, and we were a school band and we opened his homecoming festival for him. So we stayed at the festival all day and they let us go on the bus to meet him. So when he met us, he was talking to us about practice. He was just, preaching about practice, and he told this joke. He said this band was on their way to do a gig at Carnegie Hall and they got lost. And so when they pulled over, they saw this wino and they asked him, they was like, hey sir, do you know how to get to Carnegie Hall? And the wino said, practice. And ever since then, that story sticks with me, and that's the first one I pull out when everybody asks for one. So yeah. And of course, it was a great lesson in it too. It was funny, but it was a great lesson too. And I kind of remember that to this day, the practice. I wouldn't say practice makes perfect, but it definitely helps. Yeah. I think the greatest inspiration for blues is life itself. So I get my inspiration from life, and when I hear other musicians playing, because it makes me want to play. So I would say those are the two biggest, inspirations I get when it comes to the music and everything. I just know for a fact I didn't think I would be here this early. I thought this would come like a little bit more later in life, and it makes me realize that I have to really get more serious than what I've been, because this is really I'm with the big dogs now, so I have to maintain and keep my head on straight and make sure I can show that I can get to these guys' levels as well. So yeah, it just it's all like motivation. So yeah, I would say when it comes down to criticism, don't take it personal. Just take it and put it to your plan, and and it can make you better. Cause I'll be honest, that was one of the things when I first started I had to put in, because I felt like that I was really doing the work. But then when someone comes and, hey man, you need to work on this, and I kind of not angry mad, but just I was like, oh man, it hurt, but then I had to put my feelings in my back pocket and be like, hey man, that's something you really need to hear. So yeah, I would say that'd be the biggest thing. I always learn from others and never be afraid to learn from others. I became a little brother to everybody, and I started to play with different people, and they would always give me insight on what not to do, and the wrong people to hang around with, and everything. So I immediately became part of the family. But then again, even the ones who was skeptical at first, they seemed to came and embrace me. So it all ended up, working out in the end. All the guys that I'm heavily influenced by, I like to take from their style. Like, of course, I mentioned earlier when it comes down to like the raw stuff, I like to listen to Son House and Lightning Hopkins and Elmer James. But then I started to get heavy into like blues rock and stuff, and that's when I found out about Joe and a guy named Eric Gales and Eric Johnson, and I started to just mix those two together, like from the pure blues that I know into like the modern stuff. I kind of intertwined it together, and then that's how I came up with my like certain style, like shreddy but still soulful at the same time, in a way. So it's all in your hands when it comes, to the music. The gear really doesn't matter. But I think when I got this guitar right here, it was different, and I thought it was me, and it made me wanna have my own sound, and it had its own sound to it that I was drawn to, that I knew was me, and that was kind of like my stamp, like, oh, okay, this is the Kingfish sound right here. Say for instance, like I'm playing like a slow blues in C sharp, and I start out kind of pure like BB, and I like to borrow a lot of stuff from T-Bone Walker as well. Then sometimes I may push the envelope and go hard and like. Then I may add some jazz stuff in on the end. My vibrato, man, I'm glad you asked that. Two guys in particular, Albert King and Otis Rush, especially Otis Rush, because I feel like Otis Rush, he had that very shaky vibrato sound kind of like mad at so like it's like, and when I heard that, it was drawn to it as where all the other guys had that slow, which sometimes I like to do that, but I'm drawn to like the more faster vibrato, and I got that from like Otis Rush heavily for sure. Joe Bonamassa is a beast guitar player, one of the first guys in the blues rock world that I was looking at, and through him I got a chance to learn about other players like Eric Johnson and stuff like that. I think Joe Bonamassa kind of like he inspired a lot of cats to like push the envelope when it came to the guitar and blues, and still show that some way somehow you can still be shreddy and still be soulful at the same time.